Okay, guys, I'm here today with Brian Glick. Huge honor for me. And guys, Brian this week is shooting an entire instruction all about half guard, and it's part of his simplified system series, right, Brian?
Right.
And half guard no gi, which is something that I always try to learn more and more and more because I was very well known with the half guard with gi and how to transition that to no gi. And for those who doesn't know Brian is the longest John Danaher student. So how long have you been training under John, Brian?
Since 2000, so...
Since 2000, so 24 years of John. And I'm super excited to learn your half guard, Brian.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a little sheepish about talking about half guard in front of someone like
come
this,
on.
you know. Before the camera was on, we were just kind of talking about some of Bernardo's, like your epic battles in the gi. And, you know, as someone who... I mean, this is a no-gi series, but, you know, whenever you start digging into half-guard work, even if you're doing no-gi, it's difficult to, like, can think about half-guard without thinking about you because of, like, the, you know, how far you went and how much you did for half-guard and, like, how incredible some of those matches were. We were talking about a few of them and, like, I mean, really, like, the best guys in the world couldn't do much with your half-guard, so...
I appreciate it, Brian.
No, it's great. I mean, I feel like we, you know, in a lot of things when we're, you know, doing these instructionals and these videos where we get to sit in front of the camera and be like, you know, talk about the stuff that we've learned, but we stand on the shoulders of other people who have like really been.
No,
you know,
I appreciate it. That means a lot to me.
Yeah. So, you know, our plan for this video is to kind of simplify. What we've been trying to do with this is just simplify some of the more complex parts of, you know, half guard is really, there's a lot you can do. And we're going to be focusing in this one on bottom half guard. And I think that for people who are like either new to jiu-jitsu or even people who are experienced but half guard is not like their main focus, we want to be able to simplify things enough so people can have a couple of answers in a few different cases for what to do. Because I never really felt comfortable playing half guard. I mean, you know, John always taught, half guard was always a really big part of what he taught us, but I never really considered myself someone who understood half guard. And I think that there were a few really important things over the years that he taught that once I really started looking into half guard, I was like, oh, these are the things that you need to be able to do. You don't have to have an amazing, large half guard game to be able to be good at a few different things. Yep. And so that's kind of the purpose of this video. I hope to be able to share some of that stuff with people today.
Can't wait to see those concepts.
Yeah, so, you know, I think that one of the core things that we're going to be talking about in this video is the idea of what John calls a lower leg shift, you know. And one of the things that's hard, I think, about people playing half guard is when I was first taught, and I think when a lot of people are taught half guard, they're taught to play like a kind of figure four style half guard on the leg, which makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of people who do this very successfully. But Bernardo, if you sit up here for a second, you can see that, you know, the reason that people like to do this is because you're trapping the knee. And then if you're in the top position, anytime you're able to free your knee and you go to, like, if you're going to perform a knee cut here, yeah, it usually starts with this knee free, you know. And so it makes sense that people would begin by understanding that this is a position where you want to lock the figure four. The thing that that John taught that made the biggest difference for me was understanding this lower leg shift. And the idea is that anytime we can bring the person forward and move into a position like this where we're scooping our partner's leg with our one arm and we're taking a tight waist grip with our other arm, it doesn't, on the surface, it doesn't make much sense to try to free your knee, like to let your knee slip forward. But actually, what we found is that when you can start to take your partner's leg through the space and place their knee on the floor, you can control your partner's leg all the way down at the end of the lever here, which is kind of down by the ankle. And when you lock either a figure four or you just cross your ankles, now from here we can do a couple of things. The main one is when you go to like knee cut, even though your knee is free, so Bernardo, if you were to go to perform a knee cut here, like sliding your knee through, it would be very difficult, right? Yes. Yeah. So we have the ability to keep control over our partner's leg, even though their knee is on the floor. The other thing that we can do from here is because we're at the end of the lever, we can rotate our partner's hip by controlling our partner's hips and really bringing our hips forward here like this.
Yep.
So this idea of being able to control the bottom leg through like a rotation by connecting your chest to your partner's hip here, and by controlling your partner's leg and hip on the far side, makes it so that even if you're a much smaller person like me, you can really get a lot of torque and control. And then it's out of this position that we see a lot of different things, right? We can see opportunities, of course, to, you can hit our kind of classic like roll through sweeps. We can always post and come up and attack our partner's back. And then we can start to play positions where we look to control our partner's far leg and come up and knock our partner down. So I think that because there are so many different moves from the bottom of the half guard, it's hard sometimes to figure out where to start. But if you can understand some very core fundamental mechanical principles, like what makes it possible to move a bigger person when they're on top of you, it opens up the whole half guard game a little bit.
Brian, so your whole system is to try to grab the person's hip and twist the leg, similar to the coyote half guard?
Yes, it's very similar. So I think that I don't know much about coyote half guard, but I think it's very similar. And what we're going to focus on in this video are kind of three pieces of the half guard. So this one with the lower leg shift and this connection underneath is the first part. Because I think if people understand how to be comfortable underneath half guard, they'll be more confident to play underneath. The other is being able to play with a knee lever. Right? And so the idea of the knee lever is one where maybe we're not able to get that grip around the waist. Sometimes we're chest to chest from the bottom of half guard. It's not ideal. So using the knee lever to be able to tilt and take our partner out of balance.
Can you show the knee lever?
Sure, yeah, of course. This is one, sometimes I think people call this a John Wayne situation where we're here, where you're really charging forward and you have your weight driving forward. Cross face is very hard. From here, getting underneath you is very difficult, of course. And the big part of that is you have this underhook and you're pinning my shoulder. So when we're here, anytime we can trap our partner's arm, we can simply place our hand down here by our hip, or we can place our hand on our partner's back, and then we can take our 2 feet and we can use our feet to block our partner's knee. Okay. So actually, the legs work in their kind of two purposes. The first is the outside leg serves as a block or a barrier on your knee so that you can't post it out wide. And then the right leg, the inside leg, serves to bump or lever you over a bit. So we take the feet together here, and then we simply hip and turn.
Good.
And now from here, we can either shoot the arm up, land on top, or we can start to create opportunities to offset our partner's balance. And look to go in on the leg.
Hold the hip, kind of similar to the coyote half guard, knee lever. What's the third one?
So the third one is actually, I think, the position that's most difficult for people who are starting to play half guard, which is one that you did so wonderfully with the gi, which is coming up into the single leg and the side-by-side position. Because I think when people think about half guard, a lot of times it has to do with working underneath the person. But more and more we're seeing that people are either backing out of these positions or people are becoming more comfortable wrestling. So in a situation where we're playing here underneath, anytime we have an opportunity where, let's say for instance, our partner is whizzing, you've got the right arm around my arm, and it's very heavy here. One way to alleviate this pressure from the whizzer is to take the arm down low. The higher my arm is, the more pressure you can exert. The lower it is, the easier it is to be able to alleviate that pressure. Then we can use a knee bump to bring your weight forward, scissor, and start to come up. And now, what do we do from here? Well, we have a whole bunch of different things, but I think that for people getting more comfortable playing from here, so if you widen your base and you play side by side with me, open your knees a little bit. So this is not really like a true half guard position, but it's so closely related that we have to be able to become comfortable playing with it. So one great opportunity from here, especially if I feel like you have a very strong whizzer, is to take the arm, make sure that it's down by our hip, and then limp arm out. So the stronger you push into me here, the easier it is for us to whip the arm through and then end up here on our partner's back. So out of this position, this kind of third placement of your body, you don't need to have 100 different things you can do from there. You just need to be able to have 3 or 4 options so that if you find yourself in that position, you can comfortably work single leg, limp arm, take the back, or play attacking the far leg.
Got it.
Right?
No,
So,
and I like that you have 3 ways. Like you're not giving them like 50 different ways. It's like 3 ways. You either go to the hip, or you do the lever, or you go to the single leg. It's very simple, and which matches with the series simple.
Right. And also, again, I think that like going back to like what we were saying about your, all your successes with half guard, it was the situations that you were in over the years were very complicated, and you encountered a lot of resistance from people who are very, very skilled, but your system was very simple.
Yeah, single leg half guard and deep half guard.
Right, exactly. And I think that in many cases in jiu-jitsu, when people are practicing, there are just so many, I mean, there's so much information, there are so many things for people to choose from. Do I play deep half? Do I play, should I come up for this single leg? So when we can simplify what the choices are, it narrows our focus, and it allows us to kind of just direct our attention into places that are high percentage. And I think this was like from over the years with John, there's not much that he does that is low percentage.
I agree.
Almost everything he does is very high percentage. And I think that if we can funnel people into the most effective places for half guard, then they're going to see the quickest results from their training.
I fully agree. And one thing I love about half guard is that we have a very old audience, people who buy his videos. They tend to be 30, 40 years old. They started jiu-jitsu. They want to get better faster and this and that. And if the person is over 50 years old, I can almost guarantee that half guard is part of his game somehow.
Have to. And, and I think, like I was saying, I really wasn't a half guard person. Like we didn't do it that much. But I think some of it is maybe I didn't need to do it that much. When I was in my 20s, in my 30s, like there were other things that I was doing more. And, I think for people who have purchased already or know John's Ageless Jiu-Jitsu, a big part of the Ageless Jiu-Jitsu program is half guard. And so I think that one of the reasons that these sort of things intersect is because when you're a little bit older, your jiu-jitsu changes, not for the worse, but it just needs to change what it looks like. And so I think for a lot of people, like you're saying, 40s, 50s, it makes sense. You need to have a functional half guard game if you want to be able to train with people who are younger, more athletic, heavier than you. And I think the same thing is true if you're even if you're a younger person who's a little bit smaller, learning to play from underneath half guard, these sorts of positions that afford a lot of really strong connection with somebody are going to be the ones you want to do.
No, I fully agree. And so guys, Brian is shooting this entire week here at IBJJF Ranking studio. One instructional video all about half guard. That's part of his simplified system. That's his new series. So make sure to check it out. It's going to come out very soon. And it's going to be at IBJJFanatics.com. Maybe by the time you're watching, it's already there. So thanks so much, Brian.
Thank you, Bernardo.
And I hope you guys enjoyed. Please help me out to grow my YouTube channel. Just click subscribe. And to watch more videos, just click under see more videos. I hope you enjoyed.
IBJJFanatics.com. Use the promo code YouTubeFaria to get 10% off any instructional video. Improve your jiu-jitsu faster.